Today we're talking about how I went from single mom to wealthy wife and mother, manifesting myself out of burnout, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual burnout. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. I want to share with you today my story and also my deep core beliefs and energetic boundaries that help me be a wife, mother, business owner, global leader from my overflow. So, welcome, whether you are already a mom or planning on being a mom, or even if neither, I think you're going to get a lot from this conversation. Let me know that you can hear me and see me because I'm not seeing it in here. Okay, I think we are good. All right. So, yeah, you can hear me and see me, correct? There seems to be a big lag. Okay, I'm assuming that you can now. All right, so I want to share a story with you. So I'm always very impressed with young women, even like my own daughter who's only 12, but she has been talking about what motherhood is going to look like for her since she was a little girl. Like my daughter is one of those girls that like just knew, so when she came out of the womb that she was meant to be a mother. I was not that woman. I think because I have what they call the oldest child syndrome, where you're placed into a mothering role very early in your life, it never occurred to me that I was going to be a mom of my own kids. And so by the time I was 23, I had my first child, not planned, and I found myself pregnant, being cheated on, going through a divorce, full-time student, full-time real estate business owner, which is a different business I had in my early 20s. And I just was thrown into that mothering role since I was 7. First, taking care of my younger siblings, and then at 23, when it was finally time for me to be independent, I became a mom in a not ideal situation. And I remember when I was 25 years old, so at this point, my son was about 18 months. I had this like really low moment in my life. I call that my rock bottom spiritual, mental, physical, like rock bottom moment. And I had this moment where I was sitting in my high-rise condo on my fancy leather couch, just really emotionally depleted and spiritually lost. And I had this moment where I had a vision of taking my life. And my son actually woke up from his nap and jolted me out of it. And I think that at that moment, I really owned motherhood. I think it was that moment where I realized that my life and my life decisions and my choices did not belong to me alone, that they impacted someone else's life and destiny at this point. And that if I was going to be successful as a mother, and if I was going to want the best for my child, I was going to have to take control of myself. And I was going to have to get really crystalline clear on what kind of a mother I wanted to be. And so it became this journey at 25, and that was exactly 20 years ago because I'm 45 now. 20 years ago, I started becoming more intentional. Obviously not, I didn't know everything I know now, 20 years later, but I started thinking about what kind of a mother did I really want to be and what kind of an experience did I want for my child. And I started really reflecting on my own needs as a child and what I needed from my mother. And I can tell you confidently that even as a child, I was very spiritual and I didn't have what would be considered selfish, rightfully as a child, but selfish needs. I wanted my mom to be happy. I wanted both of my parents to just be happy. I wanted my mom to be rested. I wanted my mom to be in her pleasure. I wanted my mom to have a good life. And of course, I wanted my mom to be present for me. I wanted her to be available. I wanted her to have time. But more than anything, I wanted her to be happy. And so I started realizing, okay, well, we all want our moms to be happy. First of all, what does that look like? What does that mean? And am I willing to do what it takes to be her, to be the type of mom that is happy, that is joyful, that is present? And one of the biggest things I've realized in my life as a mom, as a wife, as a eight-figure global thought leader, as a woman that holds space for tens of thousands of women globally, of all ages, all backgrounds, all walks of life, is that we have to get really crystalline clear on what motherhood looks like for us, what it means to be a mother, and realize also that being a good mother requires a good man. I'm going to just say it. And I know this is going to trigger some people probably, but I don't think that I could be the type of mother that I really wanted to be if I didn't choose a man that was going to allow me to do that. Because the vision that I had of motherhood involved two parents, involved parents that took care of each other, that prioritized their health mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and the health of the family unit. And I know that in the West, that triggers people because we like to pit men and women against each other. We like to pit mom and dad against each other. And we like to be delusional and believe that it doesn't take two parents and a whole tribe to create a good mother and a good family in the way that I see it, in the way that I want it. And I know that even maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I would have danced around this topic. I would have given a lot of disclaimers, but I don't anymore because the vision that I have of motherhood and a family life involves two healthy people that are willing to have difficult conversation, be emotionally intelligent, be regulated, have energetic and physical and emotional and spiritual boundaries so that they can really give their children the type of life that they deserve. And so what motherhood looks like for me is from overflow. I think we've been sold this lie that in order to be a good mom, we have to look exhausted. We have to one up each other on how tired we are and how crazy we look and how depleted we are and how little we sleep and how little we pour into ourselves. Somehow that has become the badge of honor. What a lie. What a lie. The woman that's most depleted isn't the best mother. The woman that gives the most from depletion and suffering, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. So we have to break the cycle. And I think we're afraid to say this because we don't want to offend people. We don't want to accidentally shame people that are in that situation. But someone has to start a new paradigm and say things out loud so that people start manifesting themselves out of that reality. And so I selfishly and selflessly at the same time, after my divorce happened, I spent 4 years by myself, like pouring into myself, pouring into my child, and really thinking through what my life decisions had led me to, discovering spiritual law of attraction, reconnecting with God. I realized that I needed a very particular type of man. And that man could not be chosen on emotions. That man could not be chosen on short-term chemistry, that I needed to have a long-term vision for my life and for my child's life. I only had one child at the time. Now I have three. So that what I wanted could manifest in this reality and that I get to be divinely supported. I get to be supported in my marriage and my life. I get to give from my overflow. I get to give from rest and pleasure. And again, I'm not one of those women that wants to just marry a rich man and twiddle their thumbs and not do anything. That's not the type of woman I am. I love work. I have a very healthy relationship with work. I love creating things. I always have. But I did want a man that prioritized his children and his family enough to realize that women are the energetic heart and epicenter of society and of the home. And that he was going to give me the type of experience of motherhood that I wanted. And as I've spoken on this topic for the last decade, it hasn't always been easy. And I was reflecting on this yesterday. I had the opportunity yesterday for the first time in my life to speak to a primarily, not primarily, I think all Pakistani American audience. For the first time, I've been public speaking for 15 years, but this was the first time that I spoke to a Pakistani only audience. And as I was speaking to some of the things that I speak to you guys about, it really hit me. And I'm gonna share with you the thought that I had yesterday. In 2012, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called rheumatoid arthritis. Is there anyone here that has heard of that? Give me a yes in the comments or the chat if you've heard of this. It's brutal. And I decided that because of what happened to my mom, getting cancer at 47, burning out completely, dying at 49, that I was going to reject medication. Not that there was anything wrong with it. I decided not to go that route, but I was going to find another mechanism for me, another medicine for me that was not traditional medicine. And I was led into this entire world of nutrition and nutritional science and back into the world of hunter-gatherers and evolutionary psychology, which you guys know I'm obsessed with. I've been studying for decades. And I remember this one thing I came across, and this scientist was talking about how when we isolate vitamins and take them out of food and we just like pop a pill, that not only does it not have the same effect as if we were to eat the whole food, it can be toxic. And the example he used was beta carotene from a carrot. But the example that I like to use is vitamin D. So let me use both of those examples. So look at a carrot. Imagine a carrot in your head. A carrot, when you consume the carrot, has hundreds of vitamins and minerals in it. But let's say someone discovered that beta carotene in carrots is really amazing. And they take that beta carotene out artificially, and then we pop that pill. Well, here's the problem with that. That vitamin on its own without the other 99 is not going to have the same effect. It's not going to work the same. For example, vitamin D. Humans receive vitamin D from the sun and some foods. But here's the thing, if you just pop vitamin D pills, which I do take vitamin D, without K2, it's actually toxic. Or I think K3. I take the supplement together. And so what's my point here? The point is, when I came on the internet and I started sharing marrying a provider man, marrying a God-loving man, marrying a man that takes care of his family and prioritizes the mom and the children, if you didn't have all the other values and all the other high perceptions and all the other good intentions, it's almost as if you extracted the beta carotene without realizing that the carrot had 99 other vitamins and minerals. And so my advice was taken and turned toxic and merged with escorting information and prostitution. And now it has spread all over the internet like a wildfire on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. And it has become really toxic and it has been taken out of context. And if you pop that pill of marrying a provider man without realizing that it goes with higher perception, connecting with God, values, morals, love, compassion, empathy, good intention for yourself, for your family, for your man, for the world, you are popping a poison, popping a poison. And so for a while, I had to stop talking about that. And I had to really go back to, oh my God, what the hell happened here? And I started feeling responsible in some ways. And I had to do deep inner work and a lot of releasing and cord cutting around that. And I had to let go of the responsibility that what people choose to do with the information, with how they're receiving it because of their own lower consciousness, has nothing to do with me. But here's what happened when I stopped talking about that. My people, the people that God has assigned to me, the people that I'm meant to lead, the people that God has called me to shepherd in my ministry, they stopped hearing from me and they stopped receiving the codes that they needed. And I can't tell you how many women have come into my private containers and asked me, should I cheat on my good man? Should I leave my good man? And it's like, why? What? Why? This is a God-fearing, amazing man that pours into you. And when I ask questions, oh, they started watching escorting content thinking that was marital advice. Because the word marriage is being thrown around in merged with work that is it's leading you to prostitution. It's leading you to live out of alignment with your personal values. That's not marriage. There is no marriage without God. And I know in the Western world, marriage is a legal institution, but let's not forget for a second that it started as a spiritual commitment. I believe marriage is a threesome with God. It is a threesome with God. And without God, there is no marriage. Without source, without higher intelligence, like I understand some people have the God wound and they freak out when they heard the word God. Whatever you want to call your higher power, whatever you want to call, whether it's universe, source, higher intelligence, infinite love, without that, love is just two people whose nervous systems are trying to just get their own needs met that are not prioritizing the union and the family and their personal values. And so what I've learned in my own 21-year journey of being a mother is that the most important job I can do as a mom is first choosing the right man to stand behind me and beside me and hold me and contain me. The right man is the one that is God in embodiment, that is like a God-fearing man that loves God, that prioritizes the family unit, and not for my own selfish needs, not because, oh, I don't want to work and all the things. Like, again, I love work. I have a very healthy relationship with creation. I have a very healthy relationship with my art. But what I see is a lot of uh, like entitled and selfish women that are choosing a man still out of fear and scarcity and entitlement and not love. And not love. And so what I've learned is that when I prioritize my marriage, I'm being a good mother. That when I prioritize my health, I'm being a good mother. When I'm prioritizing my well-being, I'm being a good mother. When I'm prioritizing my relationship with God, I'm being a good mother. When I'm zooming out and I'm asking myself, hey, why am I doing this? Is this conditioning? Is this necessary? Do my kids actually need this from me? I'm being a good mother. And I'm just going to riff this. I was planning on taking notes and then there's no notes because I decided that I was just going to riff this from the depth of my soul, like I used to when I didn't care about how things were going to be perceived and who was going to take it out of context, not my responsibility. I've learned that a lot of people revenge parent. I'm loving these comments. Keep them coming. I'm gonna be sharing more. I'm gonna be reading them and answering any questions or comments that you have. A lot of people revenge parent. What do I mean by revenge parenting? Revenge parenting is when you were parented a certain way, and then you just take that and you just parent the opposite way. Let me give you an example. I know someone who wanted to join a lot of like sports and like activities as a child, but their parent could not afford it. And their parents were immigrants and they just could not financially or energetically afford it. So that child, that woman grew up feeling a lack in her life. So when she grew older and she got married and she had kids, she put her children in so many activities that her children do not have time to breathe. Her children constantly complain, constantly complain. Her oldest child is, I think, 11 now, and she was saying she cannot wait to be an adult and get out of that environment because she's so exhausted with all the activities that she has to do. That's revenge parenting. That's revenge parenting. Because it's like you just take whatever happened to you and you just turn it upside down and then you just do the opposite without considering what your children need from you. And so I have become super intentional and not just going by, I didn't get this from my mom, so let me just do the opposite. Or I love this thing my mom did, so let me just do that. I've become intentional on the souls of my children and what they actually need. And what I've learned is that at the core things that my children need is a happy mom, is a well-rested mom, is a mom that has passion and aliveness, is a mom that's happy and joyful in her life, as a mom that's happy in her marriage, as a mom that's happy being a mom, because she also has a lot of other interests, that she has a well-rounded life, that she enjoys her life and her work and her legacy. That's what my children actually need. And then zooming in to each of my individual children and what they need in this particular season of life, not because of revenge parenting, not because of what I wanted and I couldn't have, but actually intentionally manifesting with God. Yesterday, when I was asked to speak in front of this, I think it was like 600 Pakistani people, I was asked to define manifestation because that word, the concept isn't new in my culture, but that word might be new. And here's how I defined it. I said, we're always manifesting. We're always manifesting. We're always creating our reality, but we're creating it based on the past. We're creating it based on who we've been. We're creating it based out of what has been programmed in us. The thoughts that we repeatedly think, the beliefs that we have that are hidden in our subconscious, we're just on autopilot and just recreating that. We're just recreating the past. What manifestation means is that you are now zooming out and intentionally deciding, wait a minute, what do I want? What do I actually desire? What kind of a life experience do I want? And you are intentionally creating that with God by choosing certain thoughts, owning your desires, rewiring your belief systems, and therefore choosing different ways of being, ways of relating, your habits, your behaviors, you're creating a new self-concept and a new identity for yourself. That's what I mean by manifestation. We're always manifesting. And lately, I've seen a lot of anti-manifestation content. Like I've seen on my feed showing up things like, stop manifesting and do this instead. I stopped manifesting and da 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 da. And what I've seen is 100% of the time, they don't know what the manifesting means. They have no clue. They think manifesting means you're dead. You're dead. You have some life in you, but you're pretty much dead and you're just laying there passively thinking, but not taking any action, not breathing life into your self-concept, not choosing your identity. And so I want to create a new paradigm of understanding that manifestations just simply means you're choosing your reality intentionally and consciously. Let me see what you guys are saying before I continue. I want this to be a co-creative discussion. Feel free to put your thoughts, your questions that are coming up. Let's see. I'm so happy for you. I'm the same way with my mom. She sacrifices so much for me. I say this all the time. Thanks for telling the truth on this. I was a single mom, and the amount of stress it takes doing it alone put me in survival mode. Yes, I think in Western culture, we think we have to like hype up single moms so that they don't feel bad. But what that's done is that created a culture where people almost want to be single moms now. And so I don't want to hype up single moms in the way that it creates this thing of like men are bad and being a single mom is easier and better. It's not. It's hard work. It's hard work. It's unnatural to be a single mom. That's not how God intended for motherhood to be. And so if you're a single mom right now, I'm sorry, because I know what you're holding and it's not easy. It is not easy. Been there, done that. And I was blessed in the sense that I had money when I was a single mom and I had my family. And even then, it was so emotionally and psychologically hard. So I think we have to stop glamorizing single motherhood and realize that it is not the ideal state because we're actually encouraging young women to choose that for themselves. I love you, Mina, for speaking the truth. Yes, children deserve good mother and good father. I'm not going to dance around this subject either. Thank you for your courage. You're so welcome. Yes, 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 yes. Totally agree with you. For being a good mom, you need a good man to support you. You can be complete and happy giving stability to kids. So nice that you put all of those things that socially we don't say. Yeah, because we're so afraid of people are going to feel shamed. I'm going to say something that's possibly going to get me canceled. I believe the only person that can cancel me, it's not a person, it's God. But this can be misconstrued, but I'm going to say it anyways. I feel like because of American history, I'm going to say something very triggering, very socially and politically incorrect. People are going to try to cancel me again for this, but let me just say this. Because of America's really traumatic history between races, what's happened is good-hearted, kind-hearted white people are really afraid of coming across racist, coming across politically insensitive, coming across globally, whatever, coming across as shaming people. They've become hyper vigilant in trying to control how they look and trying to be a good person and trying to make sure that they're walking on eggshells and trying to make sure that they're controlling what they're saying and they're not offending anyone and they're not being, inappropriate and they're not being politically unjust and socially unjust. Because of that, they tiptoe around people and they're afraid to really speak their mind and they give a lot of disclaimers. And what's happened is those of us that kind of had secondhand exposure to that, we've taken that on. But the truth is, I come from a culture we're not afraid to speak truth. But because I was born and raised in American culture, I took that on of like, oh my God, I don't want to shame those people and I don't want them to think I'm a bad person and I don't want them to think I'm saying things that, are against oppressed people. And now we're like afraid to speak our truth. We're censoring ourselves. We're really censoring ourselves because we're trying to be politically correct and we're trying to not make anyone feel offended. But we're gonna have to have some serious conversations. Me saying that single motherhood is hard should not offend single mothers because you know it's hard. You know it's unnatural. I'm sorry you're going through it, but it's unnatural. You're meant to be supported. You're meant to be loved. You're meant to have a lot of support around you. You're meant to be cherished through motherhood. And so I think that a lot of us grew up in this environment because of the racial history of America, where we're so afraid to offend people. And we're so afraid to say things that people will take wrong. And then they're going to think I'm a bad person. Like I see so many people posturing like this performative care for things that are happening globally that they might have empathy for, but they don't really care about. They don't really understand because they want to seem like they're a good person. Like, there's things that are happening in the world that I might have compassion for, but I'm not educated to speak on them. And I'm not going to posture while ignoring the things that need to be really said. Mother Teresa said, if you want to save the world, go home and love your family. Loving my family requires me to choose a healthy partner. Loving my family requires for me to prioritize my family and myself. Loving my family requires me to give to my family from overflow, not from what's left over after I'm posturing, caring about the whole world while being miserable and suffering and bringing the depleted self to my family. That's not being a good mother or a good wife or a good woman. When I was little, I told my mom she made me want to be a single mom because of how easy she made it look. Now that I'm older, I realized she's so burnt out and is holding on to a horrible mom. You know, the best advice I got from my mother was so politically incorrect that no one's going to say those things out loud. And I said them, and then they were misconstrued and merged with escorting and prostitution and taken way out of context. So I'm like, oh, that's us taking the beta carotene out of the carrot. But for the people that are willing to have those conversations, the conversations are deep. I have those conversations in my small groups. We had them at Lakshmi, at my Miami intensive in Kainat, my spiritual mentorship group. Like when I have them and when you have the other vitamins and minerals, the other values, they are gold. They are gold. And so when I was in this room yesterday talking to this large Pakistani group, there's this like sigh of relief because I can be savage and they understand because they understand the other values that go with them. And being a good woman as a 45-year-old, eight-figure woman, global leader, wife, mother, I can tell you it requires both being a goddess and being a little bit savage. That's feminine intelligence. That means you have to be willing to have such strong energetic boundaries with yourself and with other people that some people will make you a villain in their movie. That some people they are so committed to the belief that if you have a good life, you might be hiding something, or you must be lying, or you must be scamming, because in their paradigm, having a good life doesn't exist. You have to be willing to hold those projections. You have to be willing to give all of those things the energetic finger. What would be an example of beta carotene in this example? Okay, T, so this is such a good question. Okay. So I'll just use a real life example. So when I was talking about rotational dating or marrying a provider man, right? I was making certain assumptions that some people listening didn't have those things. Meaning, I was assuming that you had good intentions for men. I was assuming that you were a woman of God. I was assuming that you had good values. But if you take out the provider man concept, right now women are demanding that men buy them a Chanel bag on the first date. That if he's not making $2 million a year, that he's not a provider man and he doesn't deserve a wife. That's the beta carotene example. Can you see that? And so what I mean is that you're choosing someone that has set up their life to be a good man, to be a good husband, to be a good father. And that man starts planning early on. I know because I am the mother of two sons and one daughter, and my sons started thinking that when they were born into it, right? They're thinking along those lines already since they're little. But then they encounter women that are selfish and greedy and have mean intentions. And then the whole thing gets ruined because now these women are demanding things that have nothing to do with marriage. And girl, I have nothing against Chanel. I love Chanel. But that's not what I demanded from my husband early on. That's something after we became financially independent. In fact, let me actually, if I go back to that time, I'll be able to tell you exactly what our net worth was when my husband bought me my first Chanel bag. $3 million. $3 million. And let me actually define what I mean by net worth because a lot of people are throwing around they're a multimillionaire and they're not because they're using a different definition than I use. So I know this isn't the topic, but hey, everything goes in my channel, so I'm going to just say it. I was talking to someone that she said she was a deca millionaire. Actually, they were $10 million in debt. They had $10 million of real estate property that they owed mortgages on. That is not a deca millionaire. That's a negative deca millionaire, meaning they have $10 million of debt. I've also spoken to people that said they're a multimillionaire because they made $2 million in their business. Technically, they are. They don't have any money in the bank. That's not what I mean either. They spent it all because they spent like $1 million on ads and then on other things. Okay. What I mean is like liquid assets that are producing money. That's what I mean. So now there's women that are demanding Chanel bags on the first date from because they want a provider man. And I got my first Chanel bag when we had a net worth of $3 million because I was prioritizing other things. Safety, long-term security for myself and my family and my children, paid off house, like thinking like a mom. Not thinking like an escort, thinking like a mom. And so this is what I've seen that it's a hot mess. And I've been having this private conversation. Are there any Kainat students over here? Let me know in the chat on Kainat. And I told my Kainat students that I stopped talking about relationships publicly because of this, and they called me out on it. They said, Mina, it's gotten worse because you stopped talking about it. So my students started saying, you think the solution is for you not to stop talking about it, but when you stop talking about it, it got worse out there. because now there's no balancing voice. Shannon said, yes, as a single woman, talking to single men, there are a lot of men that have been burned by women expecting these things from day one of dating them. It's making men put up concrete walls. Yeah, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I actually, my husband has cousins and also friends that are single right now and they're dating. And I know what's happening from the other perspective as well. I understand what women are going through and I understand what men are going through. But the thing is, the good men and the good women aren't the ones creating the problem. Hi, hello, Audra is here from Kainat. Hi, Teresa. Oh, that's Teresa. Amazing. I didn't know that was your new handle. Yes, and I'm just mentioning to guys, let me mention something before I take some of these questions. Right now for Mother's Day, I'm doing a Mom 18 code. It's Mom 18 one word, for 18% off all courses and bundles. Everything, including the All of the Things bundle. The only two exceptions are Kainat and my certification. And Kainat goes up in price on May 15th when the code also ends at 2026. And I'm doing this. I haven't done a code in a really long time because my journey of becoming the woman that you see in front of you, generational um, curse breaker, pattern interrupter, the glitch in the matrix, eight-figure woman, global leader, thought leader, author, wife, mother, began because I wanted to be a better mother for my son 21 years ago. We all say we want our mom to be happy, but are we willing to do the inner work to shift the identity, to break the patterns that are required for you to do that? Are you willing to do that? It's easy to talk. It's hard to, it says average view duration 11:11. Of course I see 11:11. Of course the universe is flirting with me. And so are you willing to put in the work? It's so easy. Like I hear people complaining about their parents all the time, but then they're not doing anything to break the cycle for their parent, for their children. So it's like, okay, you're talking all this stuff, but what are you doing to shift the paradigm? Shannon said, yes, that's what I wrote above. You stopped speaking so people sought out advice elsewhere. Not that you have to do it, but you don't, what you don't desire, but this is just what happened. I think I had to really go back and reflect on why my words and my concepts were being misconstrued. Shannon, let me put it this way for you. I'm gonna like just tap into my heart and tell you from my soul what I experienced. My intention has always been to bring men and women together. My intention is to help stop the pattern that my parents had. When my mom died at 49 from extreme burnout from cancer, and after that, when I started like my deep healing work, I realized that what my mom went through was avoidable, was preventable. And so I first decided that that was never going to happen to me. And then I decided that from my overflow, I was going to make sure that I helped enough women that that didn't happen to them. And that required me to teach women about male and female relationships using what God had gifted and blessed me with, which is my spiritual gift of speaking, of breaking down complex science and spiritual law and evolutionary biology and scripture into ways that help people enhance their lives. So my intention was pure. My intention was to bring men and women together in healing. But what I saw was that my work was being spread in a way that was just jarring for me. So I'll give you some concrete examples of what shocked me. So I had a client, and I'm not sure if she still watches my work now, but we worked privately together. She was a burnt out single mom. And through the healing work, through my private work, and through my courses, she ended up attracting this man that was a really great man, had gone through a horrific divorce himself. His children were grown. successful. And she met this man and they started dating. And before he proposed to her, he actually said, I want to have a very serious conversation with you. And he pulled out his financials, and she was shocked to discover that this man was a decamillionaire. And he wanted her to know that she was always going to be safe and her children were going to be safe with him. And then he proposed and she said yes, and they got married. And he was taking really good care of her. He retired her from her job. He was taking good care of his children, of her children. And of course, they were having some container issues, which everyone has in their marriage in the first 2 years, guys. And they were like really minor things. So imagine my shock when this woman reached out to me after we had done all this private work. I had even coached her husband, asking me if I thought it was okay if she got a man on the side. I'm like, why would you get a man on a side? You're happily married. And she said because she was watching this other content and she was told that she needs to have multiple men. And this happened with several other clients of mine that I had worked with them and completely transformed their lives, taking them from burnout, like adrenal fatigue, spiritual isolation, to creating beautiful marriages and lives. And they're watching this, again, the 100 monkey theory, right? Like we plug into grids. I freaked out. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I freaked out. I freaked out. And I had to pull back. And I thought the solution was stop talking about relationships. Stop adding to that. And after doing that, this has been like what, almost 2 years now that I stopped talking about relationships, except in my private work in my group coaching containers. And then my clients, some of you guys started saying, Mina, I don't think you not talking about it as a solution. I think you're making the situation worse. But I had to really dig deep and figure out what happened. And what I've had many conversations with God about this. I've journaled more than I think most people have ever written in their entire life. I've reflected with my own mentors, with my husband, with my clients. And it's because if you don't really have a good heart, if you're lost in the world, if you didn't have enough examples in your life, if those other minerals and vitamins are not present in your psychology, in your perception, and how you view the world, then what I say is it's going to land as very selfish, very twisted, and very manipulative. And what I've had to come to terms with is it's not my responsibility what other people choose to do, but I need to keep speaking to my people. I need to keep speaking to the people that God has assigned to my ministry. I need to keep speaking to the people that are kind-hearted, are loving, do believe that men and women have a cooperative role in society, that God is cooperating with us, that the universe is cooperating with us, that non-physical forces are cooperating with us. Men and women are meant to work together. We are nothing without each other. We are incomplete without each other. God created us in pairs for a reason. And it is not my responsibility to fix the world, but it is my responsibility to share what God has placed in my heart as my work, as my calling, as my ministry. It is my responsibility to shepherd the people that God has led to me. What they choose to do with that information, not my responsibility. And that took me 2 years of going really deep and taking responsibility for the things that I've said and the way that I've said them. And could I have explained that more? And could I have, like, I went through a whole spiritual spiral saying, how did I contribute? What were the decisions that I made that were really bad decisions that led to this? taking ownership of that part because I am a self-led woman, God-led woman that takes responsibility for my part, cleaning myself up energetically, not having resentment towards the people that have spread hate against women and men, pitted men and women against each other. I have squeaky clean energy around those people now. I didn't at the time. I can promise you I do now. I had to do a lot of releasing work, forgiveness work. I had to understand that those people are traumatized, they're hurt themselves. That's what they were taught. And it's not my responsibility. And so I'm allowing myself, what I started doing is the deep conversations I was having publicly on YouTube, I took them into Kainat, I took them into private work, but I stopped having them publicly. And I'm ready to give that up. I'm ready to put that down. Because women need deep conversations. Men need deep conversations. I have been speaking a lot on other people's stages lately, and other people's stages where I'm invited, they're usually men and women, the ones I've spoken on, and it has been such a breath of fresh air when at the end of the conversation, when I'm done speaking, I get standing ovations. I have both men and women come to me saying, "Oh my God, finally someone said it. Finally." And it has been just, it made me realize how much I've been holding back and not saying publicly all the things that I want to say and what I believe. And what I believe is socially unacceptable to say, especially in the Western culture. And again, it's not Western culture's fault either because of the crazy history that we've had here. Western people are very careful about what they say. They don't want to be perceived in certain ways, but that doesn't need to be my reality. I don't need to mince my words and twist them and make sure they're palatable and water them down for everyone. I have to be willing to be misunderstood. I have to be willing to be misconstrued, misquoted, all the things to really do what God has sent me to do. Thank you for sharing the amount of time it took you to grow, heal past this. 2 year silence is over. Yes. Yes. And I mean, I went publicly silent, but privately, we've been having these discussions. But I think we need to have these discussions publicly. The projector invitation, I'm so glad you received that. And step up in your ministry. Yes. 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 I love that you were able to see that people's distortions were jacking up the teaching. Yes. And the work I had to do is that has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with me. So glad you are continuing to speak to your people, your message, and the style of your message is so naturally coded. I share it with so many friends. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I'm engaged and I have a beautiful family and learning to expand my container by the grace of God and definitely through your work. Thank you, gorgeous. Please don't hold back. So questions about this topic. I feel like as a projector, as a 4/6 projector, I teach and transmit best through my lived embodied experience, my lived embodied experience of working with tens of thousands of women globally and some men, and your questions and your invitations. So let's go there. Let's see. That's what I've noticed too, is that people that I believe are in the influence of the opponent, and this is my belief. You don't have to believe me, but people that I believe are like, to me, anyone that spreads hate, anyone that spreads separation, anyone that spreads um confusion between the genders, between our relationship with God, which is supposed to mirror our relationship with the opposite gender, right? And with our children, is under the influence of the opponent, notice that they're always loud. They don't hold back. But it's always the good-hearted, good-intentioned people that are second guessing all of their moves. And this is something I always tell my clients, it's like, be visible, be visible. But I realize my clients come to me because I'm an embodied projector and a spiritual teacher. And if I'm not doing that to the fullest, then I'm capping them as well. Um, your willingness to speak the truth already shifted so much in me. Thank you. Are men who are entrepreneurial and driven genetically wired to be able to be monogamous? So I answer that question in my Huntress course. There's a small little transmission I have called the frequency of certainty where I answer that too. It's not a black and white question like most things, right? The answer is very nuanced with everything because my work is really deep rooted in wisdom, ancient wisdom, lived embodied wisdom, evolutionary psychology, my PhD work. You guys know, a lot of you guys know I'm writing my PhD dissertation at the moment. So it's really highly nuanced and deeply coded and researched. And so it's not like a yes or no. Most things in life are not a yes or no. They're very nuanced. So I would use the code MOM18 and grab the frequency of certainty masterclass, and I answer that in there. I found you through your relationship content. I've been listening since I was 16 and you changed my life. When I first introduced my mom to you, she thought you were teaching how to use men. Yes, because remember, every single person receives all information from the level of perception that they're at. So let me give you an example. Let's say that someone, when they were 6, were running and they bumped into a tree and bumped their head and they got hurt. Now, every time they see a tree, they have a different perception of it than you and I, that didn't happen to. Maybe we grew up playing around trees and we have good memories with trees. So the level of consciousness, that's why my 4 stages of consciousness, which I shared with the Pakistani community yesterday, are gold. So if someone is at the basic babe level of consciousness with relationships, they're gonna perceive my information from those lenses. If someone is at the self-aware Barbie level of consciousness, they're gonna perceive my words at that level. If someone's at the $1 million babe level, they're going to perceive my words at that level. If someone's at the high-end divinity level, they're going to perceive my transmissions at that level. So it's not what I'm saying. It's a combination of my frequency and how much you're able to allow based on your frequency and your consciousness. So the same person, 10 people could listen to my same live stream and someone receives that they should manipulate and use men. Someone receives that they're appalled, and someone receives a huge paradigm shift of what they get to have in their life. And it's the same information, but their perception and how much they receive is changed by their consciousness. Give me an amen if this is making sense to you. My older brother was always weird about bikes. I found out recently that he was hit by a car when he was riding a bike, but I love riding bikes. This. So now the fact that we have this beautiful thing called the internet, where we all have a voice, what has been the most shocking thing to me is I didn't realize how much of a bubble, I think this is probably for most people, how much of a bubble we're all raised in. So because I come from an immigrant culture where education, people are willing to risk the lives of their children and themselves to make sure that their children are educated. Education is everything, everything. So it wasn't until I got on the internet, I was shocked to learn that most of the world is not educated. They don't have spiritual conversations. They don't have deep, like philosophy in their life. And they get to also have a platform. and they also get to like share their journey. But if you're not careful, it's like we also are, we're what's the word I'm looking for? Co-regulating species. So whoever we spend the most time with, we start taking their ideas, we start coding ourselves with their beliefs. And so I was shocked, and I think God needed me to see that, because I thought most people valued education, had an open mind, and perceived information at the level that I was receiving it. Oh my God, what a shock. No, they don't. And so this is where my work comes from, is that we have to raise our consciousness and perception of life. Because what your consciousness level is, that's how you perceive yourself. That's how you perceive reality. How you perceive yourself in that reality. That's what you get back from reality. And so my job is to just keep speaking the highest frequency of truth available to me, believing, knowing, and trusting that the right people will hear me at what I actually mean, and the wrong people are not my responsibility. That's the inner work that I've had to do. Let me see what else you guys are saying. I'm willing to be misunderstood and continue to do what God wants me to do. My daily affirmation now. Thanks. Amazing, Teresa. Yes. Yes. I shared with you guys in the Unbothered live stream, right? That every single person has their own movie in their head. And in from every single person's viewpoint, they're the main character. And then there's all these other people, right? So from my movie, I'm Mina Irfan and I'm the main character. And I have a husband and I have my kids and I have my business and my friends and my extended family. But from my husband's perspective, he's the main character and I'm his wife. And then he has a different movie playing. From my kids' perspective, they're the main character and I'm just their mom. From your perspective, you're the main character and I'm just a spiritual teacher or your mentor that you listen to. And so in some people's movie, you have to be willing to be the villain. In some people's movie, you have to be willing to be a goddess. In some people's movie, you're going to be the friend, in the wife, the mother, the teacher, the mentor, the muse, the inspiration, also the villain, because that's what they're choosing. And that has nothing to do with you. That has nothing to do with you. This is my first Mother's Day weekend since my mother's passed. Oh, I'm sending you so much love. Whew, that never gets easier, I'm sorry to say. Like every year, I celebrate my motherhood, but I also miss my mom. Whew, that's making me emotional. Oof. I'm happy I caught this life so much more aware of her struggles and the things I didn't want me to repeat. Yes, yes. My mother's legacy continues to live through me. I shared in the talk I gave in front of the Pakistani community yesterday that when my mom died, I had a lot of resentment because she gave everything away. She kept nothing for herself. She didn't take care of herself. And I was really resentful because I felt like she had nothing to show for her legacy until I realized that I was her legacy. And the blessings in my life came through her barakat. And so the work that I do really truly is for 7 generations back and 7 forward, because my life, me living a good life, me living a blessed life, me being a happy, healthy, joyful, romance, loved up wife, loved up mother, multimillionaire, coach, teacher, mentor, global thought leader, that serves my mother's legacy and it also serves my descendants' future. And so I'm willing to own that. I'm willing to live my life to the highest frequency of truth. Now, when you do that, you have to be prepared. Most people, they talk smack, they say shit, But they don't really believe that a woman can be wealthy and happy and provided for and healthy and all the things. So when you become that, they're gonna think she's hiding something, she's lying, she's not actually as happy as she says. Let me share something with you guys that has shocked me. And it's funny to me now, but it has shocked me because I'm like, what in the actual fuck? So something interesting started happening to me. I would say since I was about 18, 19 years old. I remember that when I finally like started participating in the world, I had my job and my school, and I was starting to feel good despite my childhood trauma. And I was looking good and I was feeling good and I was dressing the way I wanted to and I was, like I was enjoying life. There were certain people in my life that when I would be at my happiest, like new level unlocked, they would always say, "Are you okay?" And I would say, "Yeah, I had a great day." And they would say, "Are you sure? Have you been crying?" It's like, "No, I've been squealing out of joy." Hmm. Hmm. And when I was young, 19, 18, 20, that would put me in this kind of like weird, like defensive energy, and it would ruin my mood because it would make me second guess myself because I cared about these people. And then it put me in this energy of like distancing myself from certain people when I was really, really happy. And then guess what? It happened again with new people, and then again, and then again. And then when I started this YouTube channel, something really interesting started happening. I would be really happy. Let's say I'm doing a haul, because early on I was doing haul videos, and certain people that I knew in real life would watch my channel. And if I was extra happy and joyful, they would text me, "Are you okay? No, I just watched your video and are you sure you're okay?" And I would be like, "Oh no, there's that pesky thing again." And now it's like global. But here's what I've noticed. I have friends in the industry and it happens to them too. And we've talked about this. And what we've come to the consensus on is that it's a combination of not believing that someone could truly be that happy and a little bit of jealousy, and perhaps they don't know they're jealous, a little bit of gaslighting, and at the core, their deep belief is a woman cannot really truly be all those things. Because we've lived in a paradigm, if someone has a good relationship, then they're poor or they have money health problems, or they have something else. Like there has to be some kind of a sacrifice. There has you No one can have all the things. That is the underlining belief in society, that if you have intentionally created a good life by choosing better thoughts, by healing your trauma, by choosing a higher perspective, even in the midst of duality, by pouring into your marriage and your motherhood and into yourself and into your business, that you must be lying, that you must be scamming people, that you must be hiding something because they don't really believe it. They don't believe that they get to have it. And it's easier for them, it's metabolically and energetically cheaper for them to deny it by saying, "You must be hiding something, you must be unhappy," than to own the truth that, hey, they get to have it too. I don't know why. You get to have it, like do the work, put in the work required to change your thoughts, rewire your core beliefs, have a higher perception, be intentional in the things that you do and the people that you choose in your life and what you create. I think that's easier than being miserable, but apparently they don't think that. Oh my God, I have been experiencing this too. People so instantly telling me they're worried about me was so uncomfortable. Yep. There's a part of them that can't hold the fact that there are people that choose happiness in their life. It is my full-time job to make sure that I'm happy because I know that as a daughter, all I wanted was my parents to be happy. So if that's all I wanted, that's what my kids deserve. My kids deserve a happy, joyful mom. And that doesn't mean that I just added on joy and happiness to my to-do list on top of everything else. No, that means I say no to a lot of things. If it's not going to contribute to my well-being, if it's not going to contribute to my marriage, if it's not going to contribute to my parenting, if it's not going to contribute to my ministry, it's a no. It's a hard no. No, thank you. I've just told people I'm Delulu and they accept it. Yep, whatever you need to do. Whatever you need to do. And luckily in my life, personally, I have less people, actually, probably no one at this point. But then it's like it became a global thing, right? So the point is, maybe we're not all going to be able to fight that paradigm in one go. But I know that I can give my children a reality that, hey, like my children say, you are the happiest person I know, and that's enough for me because they know that I choose happiness and I don't pretend to be happy when I'm not. They've also seen me crying. They've seen me hold duality. They've seen me lost my way and come back to it. And I want them to see the whole picture because I want them to remember when they're older, just like I go back to my parents' stories and what they said to me and what I saw them experiencing when I'm going through stuff, even though they've been gone for many years. I know that when I'm not here, my voice and my legacy and my embodiment and my experiences, the full honest truth of them will become the guiding light for my children's journey. That will become their inner voice and their inner wisdom. And so I let them see all of it, but I let them see me choosing happiness and intentionally creating my life. This makes so much sense. Every time I upgrade, I become a villain in someone's story. Yep. It's metabolically heavy for them to own the fact that they have been living out of alignment when you show up living in alignment. Not everyone is doing the level of inner work that we're doing. When I'm triggered by someone, I say, "Oh my God, what in them have I disowned and I'm not allowing?" Because I want to allow that. That's why I'm triggered by them. Friends cutting you off when you excuse yourself at the time of drama or when you don't gossip with them. Yes. At this point, all of my friends, I keep my world small, meaning I keep my group, I actually, so interesting. My family does this thing every year where we all get together and we have like a topic of discussion of all the generations, all the elders, all the children, all the new married like family members. And today's topic, we just had it today, it was called balance. And it was funny because I actually don't believe in balance. And so I shared that. But at one of the quotes I shared, I have it right here, was the quote by Jim Collins. It was, if you have more than three priorities, you have none. And so part of my life's journey has been keeping my life small and curated. It's like a boutique. I don't have a ton of friends. I have a few curated friends that know that I'm not going to gossip, that I'm not going to waste my time being in victimhood, that if they want to bring victimhood to me, I'm going to quickly ask them the questions that gets them out of it. I'm going to call them out on it. I was just driving somewhere with my friend the other day, and she was going on and on and on with this resentment that she's having with someone she's been pouring into. And I listened to her, and then I said, there's something you're getting out of this because you wouldn't have been doing this for all these years if you weren't getting something out of it. What's that thing? You like being in this victim position. You like overgiving. You like being the one that overgives and then is resentful. And she was like, ouch. And I'm like, don't share anything with me. And she appreciated it. She said, I appreciate your harsh truth. I've been holding gratitude longer in my body. I love that. The Femme Fortune container course. Yes. Yes. And so being a happy wife and a happy mother as the energetic epicenter of my family, I'm the heart. Women, we control the energy in all our relationships. We control the energy. And so I control the energy by managing my energy. I don't manage time, you guys know. I don't manage money. I don't budget money. I don't budget time, but I do manage and budget my energy. That is law. That is a non-negotiable. That is my energetic standard. That is the floor. That is the floor. And that doesn't mean that I hit up against people. It doesn't mean I have conflict. It doesn't mean I just let them energetically be where they're at, but I have a standard. My husband and my children get to have the best of me. They get to have the best of me. And I don't care if that means that I'm going to be a villain for everyone else. Because me, my husband, my children, we're one unit. This is my priority. This is my priority. There's nothing outside of my home that is my priority more than my family. From my family's overflow, I get to bless other people, but not at my family's expense or my expense. And I want you to really own that and receive that. Not everyone has the capacity to receive and contain joy. 1000%, they just don't. And our job is to just have compassion and love and let it be. Like, I don't try to change their mind. I don't try to manipulate them. I don't try to convince them that I'm right. Maybe they're right. Maybe that's how they need to be. I just know who I need to be. I just need to be, I know who I need to be and how I need to be and what my energy needs to be and what my priorities are and what my values are. And that's my job, to mind those values and those priorities. And as a sixth line in human design, I've had to go through all of that journey myself. So now that whenever there is something that I need to work through, I'm like, okay, God is leading me through this so I can extract the wisdom and bring it to my people. What's the lesson here? What's the thing we need to alchemize, transmute, grow into? I want you to have full permission to be the happiest you've ever been, to push the edges and boundaries of how happy you get to be in a world that is addicted to suffering, in a world that is addicted to gaslighting you into thinking that maybe you're hiding something, maybe you're not that happy, making you second guess your choices, making you second guess your relationship, making you think you're doing it all wrong. What if you're always doing it all right? What if the way you're doing it is always how God intended you to do it? What if you are the outlier? What if you are the glitch in the matrix? What if your values are not outdated? This is something I've been told. I was sharing this in the Lakshmi Intensive. I've been told your values are outdated. Well, then they're outdated. They're timeless. They come from God. They come from my direct relationship and experience with God. And so if they're outdated, they're timeless. But what if you always had it right? What if you doing it the way that you know God has called you to do it is the right way to do it? What if your marriage is your worshiping God? What if you taking care of yourself and your children is worship? That's how I worship God. That's how I pray, by taking care of myself, by taking care of my husband, by taking care of my children, and by taking care of the clients and students that God has assigned to my work. That's worship. That to me is living in God's name. That's in me is being a teacher of God. That's in me in magnifying and multiplying divine provision. Because my provision comes in money. Yes, I love money, but it also comes in the provision of a loving man, being provided with loving, caring, amazing children that are my best friends, by being given this opportunity to pour life and soul into people, by activating people, by bringing people's relationships together, by helping them heal their identity and self-concept and trauma, by helping them create businesses that they're proud of and bodies of work that will outlive them. That is my form of worship. That's also my divine provision. That's my barakat. I'm so glad you are coming back to the relationship work. I'm happily married myself, but those relationship videos are the ones I have been sharing like crazy for years. The world needs this. Yes. I'm willing to be misunderstood. I'm willing to be misconstrued. I'm willing to be the villain, and I'm willing to also stand in God's way. God intended men and women to work together, to live together, to love each other, to pour into each other. I will die on that hill. I will die on that hill. What is your PhD topic, if you don't mind me asking? I don't even, okay, I don't know if I want to share it or there's still a part of me that's like my biggest legacy. In fact, oh my God, I had an experience at Lakshmi where one of my students asked me, and I don't know what, I don't even remember what I blurted out, but whatever I blurted out, that's not it. Should I say it? I'm gonna say I won't give you the academic version yet. I'll give you the version that is a teaser. How about that? I want my dissertation to get approved and everything, and then I want to pass everything and then say it. I don't know why. I'm being so weird. I think there's a part of me that put this on a pedestal for so many decades, and there was a part of me that didn't feel worthy, and there was a part of me that didn't feel I could do it. And so I'm still kind of like guarding it. Um, but I'll give you a teaser. This is not the academic version. I'll give you my version. My my master's thesis was on the devil. And academically, we call it something different, but it was the devil. And so, what do you think my PhD work is on? I'll have you guess. That was my hint. It's my teaser. You tell me. I like teasers. Okay, tell me what you think that if my master's thesis was on the devil, I feel emotional saying this. Oh, I feel so blessed to be able to do this work. My entire life's work is being put into my PhD. I feel like some people are getting it. Ah! Yes, 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 yes. Of course, academically it's something else, which I won't reveal yet, but yes, yes. The love of my life, God, my the one infinite creator. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I've been, oh my gosh, yes, it's been such a journey. It's been decades in the making, this journey of finally making it official. This is right on time. I just left my 5-year relationship to commit to God and myself and my next level, and it's terrifying, but I have faith it will all work out. Doesn't it always, Sydney? It always gets to work out. It's all happening for us at all times. Even when we can't see it, we're always in divine provision. We're always blessed. I love your devotion to God. Of course, God is what it would be, only fitting. Thank you. Oh my God, when I share my official title, what it will be, like I am just, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm doing my PhD too. Such an exciting journey. Wishing you all the best. Thank you. Thank you, Tihi. I appreciate that. I'm wishing you all the best as well. How to strive in life, still living your best life, even with the devil around. So, part of Alina wants to turn my thesis into the first 3 chapters of my book. We'll see how that works out. She's the creative director of the Universe Guru. And so she has this vision that the first 3 chapters will be the thesis, and then my PhD work will be the rest of the book. So we'll see how that pans out. But the argument that I made is that we are ultimately in control. And if you look at all of the scriptures, If you look at all of the Abrahamic religions, they all clearly show that the devil can manipulate. The opponent can confuse and he can put doubt, but he cannot physically actually do anything to you. He cannot physically make you do anything. So if the devil cannot physically make you do anything, you are ultimately in control. So I do not see the devil as a negative force in my life. I see it as a powerful force that I can, if I allow it in my life, it can create doubt, it can create distraction, it can create delay. But ultimately, as long as I'm plugged into God and I'm trusting myself and I'm trusting the one infinite creator, I will always come back to truth. I believe that the highest truth on the planet, the highest frequency on the planet is the frequency of truth, which is the frequency of love. Even when it stings, even when it hurts, even if it what doesn't make sense, it ultimately it's the highest frequency. And so the highest frequency is me just coming back to God. Going on 5 years of marriage this October, engaged in 4 months. Ah, congratulations, Jazzy. I absolutely loved your relationship content. I manifested my husband doing your work in courses, had a really tough 2 years of marriage and stuck it out, thankfully. No regrets. That. So, Jazzy, since you brought this up, I'm gonna like verbally process something with you guys that I've never shared with you guys, I don't think. I'm gonna just process it. So when I first started this YouTube channel 15 years ago, I was just kind of creating what's in my bag and my hauls and random content like that until there was a family member that said, "Oh, isn't it going to be so cool that your kids are going to have this content to watch back on?" And that hit me hard because I was like, "Oh my God, my children are going to watch this?" And I only had my two sons at the time and they were very young, but I was like, "Oh, I should probably put some more intention in this if my kids are going to watch this one day." And so I started getting really intentional. And what happened after that is I moved to Houston, Texas in um, December of 2011. And then in April of 2016, I got diagnosed with RA, rheumatoid arthritis. Has anyone ever heard of that? And I was led through this whole like journey of healing myself. And so I was studying nutrition and lifestyle and all the stuff. And I started sharing that. So all of my content around this time was paleo, keto, lifestyle. And then we started moving into our financial independence journey. And so my content then shifted to financial independence and minimalism and being frugal and saving money. And then after that, I started going into like deep inner work, the stuff I had studied in school, and started sharing that inner work when that was done. And then, which led to relationship content and feminine energy content. So, what I'm trying to say is that I've always had a niche based on what was like interesting to me and what I was like deepening. And in the last 2 years, when I pulled back from the relationship content, I was like, well, what's the next thing? Like, what is the next thing? Like, what do I want to talk about? Like, what do I want this channel to be? And I got like transmissions in the last 2 years over time. I feel like in the other ones, it was like easy. It was like it just naturally rolled into the next thing. Is this making sense to you? Like it was like the hauls, and then the Louis Vuitton video took off, and then I was doing Louis Vuitton videos, and then the RA thing happened. It was just like natural to like move into the next thing. But the last 2 years have not felt natural. And I've really like journaled on this and thought about this. And I think it's because I'm now stepping into the deepest part of my legacy and my work, especially as 45, like I'm a 4-6 projector. So as I get closer to 50, where it's like you're known for something, you're like a role model for this one thing. It's that it's been harder for me to own because it means the most to me. It has a lot of responsibility. And what has God repeatedly revealed to me in my Akashics, in my heart, in my desires, in my numerology, in my human design, in my astrology, in anything, is that I have been put on this earth to be a spiritual teacher. That my job is to help people come back to God, and from that create a healthy relationship between the masculine and the feminine, to live the best, most prosperous, like healthiest, happiest, wealthiest version of themselves. And the reason it's been hard to choose that is many folds. It's the classic hero's journey, where in the last 2 years I've denied the call. I've ran away from it. It's been hard to accept. It comes with a lot of responsibility. It comes with deep sovereignty. It comes with deep leadership. It comes with deep conviction, certainty. To call yourself as a spiritual teacher, it comes with projections of people think, I mean, I've been called a cult leader since 2018. I take that as a compliment. Like, it comes with a lot. It comes with a lot. And that's one aspect. It's been hard. The other aspect is I've been told I have to niche down. And in some ways, I have been niche down in those different eras. But now what I've prayed on is, God, how do I niche down when I'm actually holistically looking at everyone's life? I'm not just saying I'm a relationship teacher, I'm a teacher of God. I'm a teacher of spiritual law, and I also use science, right? It's looking at your whole life as a woman. And the latest download that I received from God was, don't niche down, niche up. And my whole perspective about the last 2 years changed. In every other era of my life on YouTube, I've niched down to the thing that was in front of me. And now the reason I've been overthinking it and dancing around it and not knowing it, the fact that I won't even tell you my PhD topic, it's like me dancing around it, right? It's because I'm not supposed to niche down, I'm supposed to niche up. And in niching up, that's a whole different level of holding. It's a whole different level of owning. It's a whole different level of conviction. It's a whole different level of owning your power. That comes with a lot of projections. It comes with a lot of hate. It comes with a lot of judgment, right? Jesus had haters, all spiritual teachers, all prophets, like they had a lot of projections. But this is who God has designed me to be. God has blessed me through trauma. He's blessed me through alchemy. He's blessed me through all my life lessons and earnings and learnings and education and my obsession and nerdiness around spiritual law and scripture and science. And I understand the human animal and the spirit self on a deep level that I've never met anyone to understand both. And so it's been such a journey in the last 2 years. It hasn't been as effortless as in the other things of like, okay, I'm diagnosed with RA, so I'm going to stop talking about Louis Vuitton and talk about RA and healing. This has been like gulp. This has been like, oh my God, you see me as a high priestess? You see me in the high end divinity? Do I see myself that? Do I own that? Am I willing to open my voice? Am I willing to be misunderstood on that level? Am I willing to be threatened? Am I willing to put everything that I know to be true on the line out there? That that has been a journey. And so the algorithms, the mentors, all the people will tell you have to niche down and you have to talk about one thing. And my one thing is God. But if my one thing is God, if you touch my one thing, your whole life will transform. Your health will transform. Your relationships will transform. Your identity will transform. Your self-concept will transform. Your bank account will transform. Because I don't believe that you are truly a believer of God if you're poor, if you're allowing yourself to be poor. Because if you truly have faith, you know, you understand divine provision. If you truly believe in God, You don't see God's other half of the creation as evil. You don't think men are bad. You can't, if you truly believe in God, you believe in health. You believe in prosperity. You believe in oneness and wholeness. And you realize that sometimes you need to be savage to hold that and boundaries. And you understand that God is infinite and God is wealthy and God does not want you to be poor and suffering and God does not want you to be depleted and God does not want you to be isolated and God does not say that you have to rob from your, from your energy to give to this person. That's not who God is. That's not who God is. So I don't know, most people don't even know this, but my second bachelor's is in ministry work, but it's in spiritual ministry. I'm a spiritual minister. I love religion as long as it brings you back to God. I do not love the version of religion that divides. I do not love the version of religion that says one religion has monopoly on God over another. I do not believe the version of religion that oppresses people, that believes that we should be poor, that believes that we should self-sacrifice. That's not my ministry work. I believe God is infinite. I believe God is wealthy. I believe God wants wealth for us, prosperity for us, happiness for us. And I don't think that any true believer of God would hate the opposite gender or their own gender or anything because it's all created by the divine. Yes, exactly. Yes, and amen. God isn't even a big enough word to encompass all that is divine. Yes, yes. So when people ask me, what is your religion? And I think people of the religion that I was born in get really triggered by this because they want me to say that religion. What I have always been led to say is I am the religion of God. Whatever religion God is my religion. Because and I've gotten into some, I'm not going to say arguments, but I've had some conversations about people from my own culture about this because they want me to say, that our religion is the best religion and everyone come to this. And then I say, okay, you've been saying that. How many people have you brought back to God? And their answer is zero. And I'm like, I have not assigned myself to any one religion. I've stayed committed to my own personal journey with God. And I can answer that same question of how many people have I brought back to God? Thousands. Thousands. People of all religions. People, Christian women, men and women, Jewish men and women, Islamic, Muslim men and women. I have clients that are Hindu. I have clients that are atheists. I have clients that are agnostic and unsure. I have clients that practice witchcraft and all kinds of things. And my job is not to bring people to religion. My job is to remind you that God was always within you. And my work has been influenced by both the feminine and masculine aspects of scripture, whether it's Sufism or Kabbalah or, law of attraction work. But to me, the end result is, do you have a direct relationship with God? Because some people have a lot of religion, but they have no relationship with God. That's not me. That's not my work. That's not my work. My work is direct relationship, no middleman, no middleman. God does not want us to pour. By the way, I was having this discussion with someone at my Lakshmi event. We were, I think it was the third day, we were having lunch, and we were talking about how like every religion has like gifts and then shadows. And the whole God wants you to be poor. The only religion that has that is Christianity, by the way. That's a very Christian paradigm. And it's because of a very particular misconstrued Bible verse. In Judaism, they don't believe you should be poor. In Islam, they don't believe you should be poor. In Hinduism, they don't believe you should be poor. None of the other religions believe that you should be poor or that money is bad. It's only in Christianity. And so we were talking about how every religion has like gifts and things to take in and embody, and then how every religion also has these like shadows. And so one of the things I'm going to be teaching in my embodied metaphysics certification, coaching certification, is that depending on who you're working with, there's deep-rooted beliefs that they've taken from their religion and their society. And so it's so interesting because I work with women from all different backgrounds. And if I try to have the same conversation that I would be having to like a Christian woman about like money is not bad to a Muslim woman, she's just looking at me like I have two heads. She's like, yeah, I know money is not bad. And so it's taken me kind of like some analysis of sitting back of like, huh, interesting. It's because they don't have that limiting belief. So it's like a really deep understanding of where these beliefs come from. Like if you told me money isn't the root of all evil, I'm going to be like, duh. But again, right? Like I'm not Christian. So I did not take on that belief. Interesting. I have been basically only following Eckhart Tolle and spiritual teachers. And when you were talking about relationships, and now you're basically also a spiritual teacher, I was always meant to be a spiritual teacher. In fact, I remember saying this to someone in 2018. I was like, I really like I'm meant to be a spiritual teacher, but I wouldn't allow myself to claim it. It was like I had to go through these other things. My Akashic says that, my human design, my numerology, my everything. And that's the desire God put in my heart. I was always very spiritual growing up, very spiritual. I would talk to angels and guides and like always saw things from a very spiritual lens, but I was disconnected from religion because because of spiritual leaders, not because of God, because of spiritual leaders. And so I had to go through that journey and thank God because I wouldn't be able to help so many people come back to God if I didn't go through it and if I didn't know what it actually meant like. Do you experience God as a feeling or power, or is that an image? So I experience God as energy. It's a co-creative, non-physical energy that we're all swimming in. So in according to quantum physics, right, less than I think it's like 0.0000001% of reality is matter. So all the other stuff is God. I talk about this in my energetics container that we're swimming in God. So right now, it's like a fish in water. We're trying to find God. It's like fish trying to find water while they're in water. But this substance that we're swimming in, which we can call God or quantum field or higher, whatever you want to call it, right? I continue, it is very important that I use the word God. It is very important for humanity that I actually use the word God without giving too many disclaimers. So I'm going to use God. So we're in it, it's cooperating with us. And how much we allow to come through depends on which stage we're on. So in the basic babe stage, we're not using a lot of it. We're putting our faith in other people. In self-aware Barbie stage, we're not using a lot of it. We're putting our faith in ourselves. It's there. It's the same level and the same amount is available to all of us. How much are we allowing? In the $1 million babe stage, we allow more of it. However, sometimes in that stage, we get caught up in allowing it just to turn it into something, into matter, right? Which is not bad. Like I created my whole life with that. But in the high end divinity, now this is now we're creating into healing for the planet. And when I say planet, this doesn't mean I'm going to heal the whole planet, but there are people assigned to me. There are people God has assigned to me, or I wouldn't have been put in this position where thousands of people want to come hear me speak every single day. So it is my job then to use the honest, highest frequency of the words that God actually is transmitting through me and not give them other labels. So that's how I experience God. Mina saved my life with this information, but I'm still so far away from where I've been meant to be. Bless her for being a light in the dark. Thank you, gorgeous. My biggest takeaway is that everyone should be a manifestation mentor by bringing back to God through activating abundance in their own life, niching up. Mina, you are a genius. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you. And what language you use doesn't matter. However, one of the big things we're going to be teaching in the embodied certification is that you do need to use language that your ideal person that's assigned to you will resonate with you. I'll give you an example. So, one of my friends sent me this video of her coach speaking on God. And it was a 2 hour call. And no, it was an hour and 15 minutes. I apologize. An hour and 15 minutes. 45 minutes of it was a disclaimer on the word God. And I'm like, girl, I get it. Get to the freaking point. And so it was a very awkward, like, she said God, and then it was like, but God this, and you don't have to use God, and we can use, and it was not like the frequency of it was not clean. It was not like, I'm going to use God. If that triggers you, use a different word, move the fuck on, right? It was a very like, and so you like, I also give quick disclaimers sometimes. Like, hey, I'm going to use God. I'm not going to stop using the word I need to use just because you showed up. However, if it freaking triggers you, substitute the word. Like, I'm not seeing you as a dummy. I'm seeing you as a sovereign person that knows how to substitute words in their mind. And so, recognizing that, hey, for example, if I was only working with Christian people, I would be giving a lot of disclaimers on wealth. And I would be using a lot of biblical references about God, like money is not bad. But if I'm speaking to a global audience, I need to stop doing that because all the rest of the people are going to be like, yeah, we get it. Because other people, other religions do not see money as evil. It's only in this one particular verse. So I think this understanding this is going to give you a completely different result in your what I call your ministry into millions work. Yes, that's it. That's it, Shannon. She said maybe somewhere in her, she's still uncomfortable, right? So, what I've learned, and this is what I'm teaching in my energetics container, is that the words that I'm using, my energy around them have to be squeaky clean. If my energy around them is not clean, then I have to give you like a really big disclaimer and I have to dance around it and I have to make sure you're not mad at me and I have to make sure it's like that's the work I've done in the last 2 years, my own personal work is like, hold on, right? Like stepping back and saying, well, what part of this is triggering me? And what part of this do I have stories around? And what part of this, like for example, the part where people are using my scientific references and what I've studied in my body of work to promote prostitution masked as marriage because they're throwing in the word marriage. I had to really clean up my energy because then I was showing up triggered around that. And so I had to really let that be. I'm like, that has nothing to do with me. So what? That has nothing to do with me. I get to show up in my highest truth with my values, what I know to be true in my heart. This content is being indexed for my children and my lineage. I don't need to worry about that. So can you see that in today's thing, my energy is super clean around that? I chose not to speak around it until I could clean it because previously when I was trying, my energy wasn't clean. Those live streams are still up on YouTube. I let it be. It's like that was part of my process, but I could speak it. I would say it and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm still triggered around it. I haven't owned it. I'm not being a leader in it." And so my personal inner work as a feminine leader is when I can sense that my energy is not clean, I go back to the drawing boards using my own body of work, everything I've taught you, the frameworks, the inner work, all the stuff. And I'm like, okay, Mina, okay, like what's happening here? Why is your energy not clean around this? And clean it up. Clean it up because whatever I bring to you, that's what I'm transmitting now. That's what you're receiving. I made it live again. I'm so happy. Hi, Joe. We've got our Kainat ladies over here. Yes. I always remember a quote that said, never stop the search until you find God. The interesting thing is that God was always there. I was swimming in Him, That's another one. People get really triggered by the word him in God. But again, that's how I experience God. I don't have a problem with men and I don't have a problem with masculine energy. And therefore, I don't have a problem with using him or her. So it's really about when people give a lot of disclaimers, or when like it's like their frequency is not clean around it, or they feel like your frequency is not clean around it, or you're gonna misunderstand. Like I'll give you guys an example. Oh my God, the person I'm speaking to is probably gonna hear this, but again, this is she knows how I feel about this. I'm just gonna say it. When I was asked to speak in front of this group, and she told me the topic, and I was like, okay, I'll speak on this. Well, a week before it was my time to speak, she calls me super panicked, super triggered. And she's like, you can't use this word and that word, and you can't say this, and you can't say this. And I'm just listening to her like, this doesn't sound fun anymore. Because I have full sovereignty of what I'm allowed to say in my life and on my channel. So what the hell? And then she's like going on and on and on. And then she goes, actually, it's going to be really helpful if you just speak to everyone like they're 10, super slow. And I was like, take me off the speakers list right now. Like, I'm like, if you think that these people that have paid $1,000 a ticket per person to be in the room are 10-year-olds, and I'm gonna have to walk on eggshells in front of talking to them, please get me off the guest list and the speakers list. I can't do it. She's like, no, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. Da, 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 da. I didn't. I'm like, no, like, I'm like, if you need to control what comes out of my mouth, this is not the right crowd for me. And I'm not the right speaker because I cannot, like, I'm unemployable. I'm unemployable because I'm already working with God. God is my business partner. He's my algorithm. He's my boss, like everything. And when I say boss, it's not like a pedestrian. Like I'm crown to crown. I'm channeling. So I'm like, if you're going to control everything that comes out of my mouth, get me off that list. And I refuse to talk to grown ass adults like they're 10 years old. So because she herself didn't have clean energy around these people and what she believed they could take and receive and how they were going to be triggered with my message, like if they're triggered, they're going to have to own that trigger. But I'm not, I refuse to talk to grown ass people like they're 10. And I didn't. I spoke. I spoke to them as sovereign beings that can understand my message or choose not to. I work in theater, and before we start rehearsals, we have to learn a lot of different names and phrases, pronouns. I'm walking on eggshells in rehearsals. Interesting. Interesting. I did not know that. So good. Isn't it funny though that this live stream that I just naturally let riff with no notes, like this was supposed to be the notes. I was like, no, just go do it the way you do it. I show up speaking in front of large numbers of people with no notes. I'm like, I'll just figure it out when I get there. I just riff, and it's always just divinely perfect. And it feels the most natural to me. I've noticed that every time I have notes, it's like a shorter live stream. Have you guys noticed this? And like we have been going live for what, 2 hours now? How long has it been? Has it been 2 hours now? I can't even see. But because what if we just always know the right answer and we just get out of the damn way? What if we're always just doing it correctly? Like the one thing I do before I speak is I say, God, I'm choosing to get out of the way. I trust that you will say the right things through me, that whatever needs to come through, that whatever needs to be said will come through, that whatever they need to hear will come through. And that's always the best work. I recently have found my way back to church after decades away. My knowledge of the truth helps me decode Jesus's message. I love meeting new people with similar values. I freaking love that. I actually went to church last weekend as well. I was invited to go meet with Joel Onstein, who's here in Houston, and I took Alina, and it was a lot of fun. Your message just gave me tears. I can feel your beautiful energy. Thank you, Mimuna. I appreciate you. He does. My son does still do human design readings. Um, if you email my team, they can give you his email. You can go through Thinkific, but he prefers that you email him to set it up. So email us at support@TheUniverseGuru.com and they'll give you Armand's email. I'm an Aries sun, Scorpio moon, Aries rising. There's no screening me when I talk. Yes, just sharing our truth and not having to mince everything and yeah, the feminine way, you know? And here's the thing. I have personal mastery of everything that I teach. And so it almost feels backwards for me to have to write notes, and I'm allowing myself to just fully go. Yes, trust what that God will say the right things through me, who wants to walk on eggshells. Yes, there is a beautiful, let me see if I can find this for you guys. There is a wonderful Course in Miracles quote. Let me see if I can find it. I'm not pulling it up. I used to have it as the background of my phone for many years. I want to find it again. I don't think this is it, but what's coming up is where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say into womb? I think I remember it being a little bit differently. If I find it, I'll post it. But the point is that instead of going to the mental realm, like I shared with you guys in the four realms of the mind training, which is also a part of my PhD work that I've created, is if you're just choosing what you're gonna say based on just intellect alone, that's like the first three layers of the mind, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Most people are doing that, hopefully. They're at least being intentional on what they're gonna say. There's a fourth layer where you're saying, God, I'm moving out of the way. I'm choosing to get out of the way. And um, something was coming through real quick. Abraham Hicks. Esther Hicks does that. She's really good at that. She gets out of the way really, really quickly and allows Abraham to channel through. And so my work in the last 5, 6 years is getting better at that. And of course, there's going to be human moments. There's going to be moments where we are tired or dysregulated and we can't do it. But my deep embodiment work has been to get to a level where I can do that really quickly. And so when I can do that really quickly, I don't have to write notes. I don't have to have every aspect of my course pre-thought. But that also means that I can't write sales pages the ways that my mentors have said I have to do them. And I'm like, well, my people say they don't even read my sales pages. Like I remember I was working with this mentor and he was like, you have to put the buy button all the way at the down. You can't have it at the top. So we launched a new course and we moved at the down. You know how many people emailed us saying, can you just put the buy button at top? We don't want to scroll all the way down. We don't read your sales pages. And I showed it to him. And he was like, I've never heard of this before. I was like, well, this is how we roll over here. So that part is like trusting yourself more, like trusting yourself in your marriage, trusting yourself with your children, trusting yourself in your business. Like I am a woman that surrenders and trusts myself because I trust God. I trust that God has the ultimate say, and that even if I quote unquote, I don't believe in making mistakes as this feedback or making a wrong decision, God will just reroute me. He'll just reroute me back to truth. And I'm committed to being in the highest frequency of truth, and God will just reroute me. So I don't overthink it. Now, I've had moments where I've been dysregulated and stuff and I go into overthinking, but even my family now, like my husband, my children, people closest to me, they're, I don't want to use the word trained, but they know that I roll best, and so they just bring me back to me. I was having a discussion with my 15-year-old last night. What did he say? He said, I was sharing something with him, and he said, Mom, the moral of the story is worry about yourself. And so that's really what it is. It's like coming back to getting out of the way and allowing God through, like trusting that what is good for me is good for you, that what is coming through is exactly what you need to hear, that when I launch a course, even if I don't have it all perfectly laid out at the sales page, whatever comes through is exactly what you needed. Whatever comes through in my marriage is exactly what my marriage needed. Whatever comes through in my parenting is exactly, like really being a woman that trusts herself because she trusts God. So surrender to me is living in a state of non-resistance. And living in a state of non-resistant allows me to trust myself, allows me to trust reality, allows me to trust God at play. Yes. I remember years ago, I did this training or I made a post or something. I did a YouTube live stream on surrender. And a lot of people were confused. This was my first experience realizing that women have a really distorted relationship with the word surrender. And then I tried to explain it in like a community tab. This was 2020. And there was this one woman that wrote this whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, I get it. I get it why they're confused. She said this whole thing about the only reason I'm able to surrender is because I'm married to a good man. And that told me everything I needed to know about where the disconnect was between me and my audience. And I was like, oh my God, they think you surrender to someone. Is this making sense to you guys? So when I explained it to her in the response, and then I changed how I was using the word and teaching around it, that's where my clients started having the most miracles. I don't surrender to another human being. I'm in a state of non-resistance. So surrender isn't giving up. Surrender is allowing more. So let me give you a financial example. If I wasn't surrendered, I would be controlling and manipulating. And I would say, my desire is to make this much, but I can't make this much because my job only pays this much. Or my desire is to make this much, but I can't make this much because my business only makes this and my audience is like this and da 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 da. What am I doing? I'm saying this result equals this formula. So when I surrender, I don't stop doing what is on my heart to do. I'm still going to live stream. But I know that the desire that God has placed in my heart for a new income level has nothing to do with what I'm doing. Because God can give it to me in multiple ways. God can give it to me through my net worth going up, through the stock market going up, through my property value going up, through my husband, through a bonus, through a new client coming in, through random sales that happen that just magically align to that number, or through something that I haven't thought about yet. It hasn't been invented yet. that I can't even give you as an example because my brain can't even come up with that example right now at this moment. So that is surrender. Let me give you a dating example. If I'm not surrendered, then I have a boyfriend and I'm really pissed and mad that he won't propose to me. Because my desire of being married means he has to propose to me. He is controlling my desire. He is controlling the outcome, right? But if I'm surrendered, I just own my desire for marriage and I show up doing the things that I need to do. So I might go to this party that my friend invited me, not with the intention of like, I'm going to find my husband there, but I'm increasing my surface area of luck with the opportunities that are available. I hear about rotational dating, I start rotational dating. So surrender is opening up your field. It's allowing, it's receiving, it's being in a state of non-resistance. Being in a state of resistance is it has to come from here, otherwise it's not going to happen. Yes, oh my God, I need to clean this up for me. Yes, yes. Are there any quantum physics books you recommend for us on our journey to allow more God to come through us? Yes, do not read quantum physics books if you're trying to get to God. Start with thought work. So Michael Singer's The Untethered Soul, do not read this book, study it, memorize it. That. So a lot of people, when they're trying to do the behind the scenes, let me give you like cheat codes here. People think that if they want to learn manifestation or quantum physics or all these things, they have to study higher level books. That's not the secret. Go foundational, but like study it. Study it. Don't read it. Study it. Don't go wide, go deep. That is the key. This is why one of the limiting beliefs I had about spiritual work, the reason it took me forever to own my destiny as a spiritual mentor is because spiritual work attracts the most basic babes. Out of any amount of content, it attracts the most. And so, because they want to bypass all the foundational stuff and just skip to that because it sounds good and sounds like, and it puts the blame on something else. And that kept me from owning it. One of the reasons. So don't go high, go deep. Hi, Mina. I manifested 3 times the amount of the money that I paid for your certification program from my passive income after I paid for it in full. So crazy. That I'm celebrating you so big, and that is not unusual in my world, as long as you're open to it. I believe that every dollar that I spent gets multiplied 11 folds, and I believe that every dollar that my clients spend on my work is gridded, gets multiplied 11 fold in divine provision. So the reason I don't say money is because sometimes it's not money that you need, it's divine love. And sometimes it's not money that you need divine provision in the name of health. And sometimes it's not money that you need, it's divine provision in the name of wisdom. And so whatever you invest, you get it back 11 folds in the divine provision that you need. And so in this moment, it was in money. And I'm so celebrating you. I love studying this work rather than simply reading books. The embodiment goes deep the more we read these foundational books, for sure. And this is something that has been the work of my life. And I gave the example of my 15-year-old. So my 15-year-old son right now, my projector son, he is studying scripture. So if you go to so his bedroom is right next to our guest bedroom. So if you go to his room, half of his bed, he has a king size bed, and there's a king size bed in our in our guest bedroom. It's all covered with Bibles, different versions of the Bible, different versions of the Quran, even the Spanish Quran. Okay, when I say he's got PhD level analysis of the different things, he's got the Bible in different languages. He's got like all of these books, and he's got special markers to highlight and sticky notes. He is studying scripture. So in the first 3 months that he was studying it, like he will stay up until like a midnight between his college classes and his high school classes. He's in dual credit studying scripture. So in the first 3 months, we were having a lot of fun. Every time I would go to tuck him in, we would have these deep discussions about scripture and Christianity and Judaism and Islam and Hinduism and all these things. You know what happened after 3 months? It turned into more of a lecture. I couldn't discuss things with him. I was just like, I was being told, I was being taught because he wasn't reading scripture. He was studying it. And the way that his memory and his consciousness multiplied, I mean, he's pulling from like Hebrew and like Sanskrit and from Arabic. And I'm just like, I have nothing to add to this conversation. I might as well just shut up and listen and learn something. That is studying something versus reading. But look at most of society right now. They have all of these half-baked ideas. They watch these 3 videos on this and this 4 videos on this, and then they went halfway through this direction and a little bit on this, and then they have read that book, and then they have did this. No one's studying anything. And so we are now in like this AI surface layer consciousness, and we're kind of like weird with AI, but like most of us don't even actually have much intelligence because we're not studying anything. We're like all over the place. And so part of what I'm doing in my certification course with you guys, that's why it's so much about building your body of work, building your legacy, building your frameworks, building your intellectual property is taking you to the depth of your soul through spiritual experiences, through journaling, through coaching, through we have doctors that have joined it. We have people that aren't even planning on being coaches, but they have bodies of work and legacy to be birthed through them. Because in this world where everything is half baked and surface area and no one's having original thoughts anymore, you will seem superhuman when you go through the work that I'm leading you through. People will think, of course, she must be lying because no one can be like this. You will have angelic intelligence when you start thinking and living and believing and moving in this way. Let's see. Um, Absolutely, that foundational work has held me even between ups and downs. My inner self continued to manifest things for me. So many blessings flow even in my down moments. Yes, 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 yes. Yes. I'm a testimony of this. Human beings are also God's medium for provisions and barakat, giving, and you're given intentionally abundant. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me see. Yeah, they called him the little Buddha when he was born. Yes, Shannon, I can't believe you remember that. He is so, what happens? Randomly things are opening up over here. Oh my God, that is so weird. You're not gonna believe this. You can't make this ish up. I don't have Facebook on my phone. I don't know what happened. I did something with my mouse and randomly Facebook opened up to this daily prayer from Marianne Williamson. I have to take a picture of this. Where's my phone? Because you won't even believe this. Like, I'm freaked out. Marianne Williamson, who spent decades studying the Course in Miracles. Remember, I was just talking about Course in Miracles? What in God's name? And it's the prayer we were talking about. A Course in Miracles. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? This is so weird. Okay. All right. Like, what is happening? So bizarre. Like, you can't even make this ish up. Okay. So interesting. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Yes. So I think that right now we're not studying. We're just consuming. We're just going wide. We're going in too many directions. And every time, like what I've even seen is people who are consuming too much but not studying, even when they ask a question and you're teaching, you're like from your deep mastery, they know too much to receive, but they don't really know anything. Because it's like they just heard like bits and they took this from here and this from here and this from here and this from here and this from here. And it's all just like stored up here in the first realm of the mind as like a lot of distraction and confusion. I see this in a lot in the relationship space, like so much, where it's just like a hodgepodge of random ideas and some of it from like escorting and prostitution that they're trying to apply to their marriage. And it's like, I don't think those things go together. And so, if you want to really deepen yourself as a woman and deepen your body of work, study, don't read, don't consume, study. That means you're not going to necessarily niche down, you're going to niche up. I have a whole framework around niching up, and let me actually share it with you guys. So, here's why someone actually asked me this. I was at a mastermind the last 3 days. So right after Lakshmi, I was at like someone else's mastermind, and someone was asking me, they were like, how come you have like everyone says to niche down, but you have like 200 different courses on like all these topics. So I said to them, I said, I didn't niche down, I niched up. And so this was like a group of three people. They were asking, they were like, what do you mean by that? And I said, so when you niche down, like if I said I'm a relationship coach, I can now only make relationship courses. Because if I make something else, people are confused, right? Or if I say I'm a health coach, now I have to make health courses. But here's what I did. I didn't niche down, I niched up. I said, what are my core values? What do I believe in? What are the things that I'm willing to like die for? Where am I like strongly convicted? And so for me, these things are, I believe God wants us to be abundant. I believe we always have the option to co-create with God. I believe that marriage and family is the most important thing. And I believe that the more that I pour into myself and my family, the more I actually serve people from the overabundance, from the overflow. So those are my values. Now, if I have niched up to that, I can tie in a relationship course to that. I can tie in a money course to that. I can tie in a boundary course to that. I can tie in an identity course to that. I can basically tie in a candle making course or dancing or anything, fashion, interior design, because I niched up. I didn't niche down. So as long as I can have the through line, because people who resonate with my big niche, my niche up, they are like, Mina, make a course about, I want to hear your thoughts about this thing. And I want to hear your thoughts on this thing. I want you to be the one teaching me on this thing because I have the same values as you. So that has been like really my core thing. Like even if you look at my 15-year journey on YouTube, it's like it's always been tied to my own personal values and what I believe in. High consumption of information is being portrayed as wisdom. Oh my God, couldn't be further from the truth. Wisdom is lived, embodied experience plus deeply studied intellectual property that you have contemplated and lived through that now you can transmit. That's wisdom. Actually, even I was listening to something on the YouTube algorithm. And it's so interesting because I'm like, oh my God, when I say God is my algorithm, this is what I meant. And it's the algorithm. So now people who just regurgitate content, like if you like, there's creators, especially a lot of young creators do this. They just like copy someone else's content and like just regurgitate it. Or they like, let me give you an example. So this guy that I follow, he made this YouTube video, and then all of these YouTube videos showed up with the same title. And he clicked on them thinking that they were going to add something to the discussion. And he kept clicking on all of them, and they were all the same script. They weren't their viewpoint on that topic. They were repeating him word for word. So what they had done, what they had taken his script, put it in chat, and like just repeated the whole thing. Well, now the YouTube algorithm punishes that. So the YouTube algorithm is now recoded where if you're just regurgitating content and you're not adding something new and original and wisdom to the conversation, they're going to suppress those channels. And I'm like, it's so interesting that the more AI comes, the more wisdom becomes wealth. More original thought is going to be celebrated. More like original bodies of work. And I got this download a really long time ago. It's just interesting to me that now YouTube has put it in place that if you weren't like bringing anything original to the conversation, like something that was your work, it wasn't even worth opening your mouth. And now that I see it, like I got to see it play out in the algorithms. And so this is why I've been encouraging people, like especially people over 40, over 50, over 60, over 70. I'm like, you have lived embodied experience. The world needs you. In case you haven't noticed, the world is freaking on fire. Like get out there, share your actual lived embodied experience. The more fluff there is, the more intelligence and wisdom, like actual wisdom, will become the thing that like is monetized, that thing that like people flock to you, the thing that people are like, oh my gosh, like here's some original thought. Do we guide our teenagers to your son's work or is this content? My son is 15. Actually, he's turning tomorrow he's turning 16. So happy birthday to my Ayanu. I went into labor on Mother's Day and he was born in that year. It was the day after, but I did go into labor with him. My water broke on Mother's Day. So he turned 16. He is a full-time student right now of both scripture and actually he has dual credits. So he's taking a lot of college classes. So he doesn't have content yet, but I have no doubt that he's meant to be a great spiritual teacher. He has been one of the most guiding like lights of love. Like this kid is just coated in divine love. My other two kids have a lot more savage in them. They're loving, but there's a lot more. This is the kid that his kindergarten teacher called us in a school meeting saying that he's so loving that she's actually concerned about him, and that all the other parents of the children call in saying that they want all of their children to sit next to Ayan and that there's only so many places so many kids that can sit next to him. So he was called by the nurse that handed him over to me the little Buddha, and he has lived up to that name. My just the he is just a bundle of love. He is a bundle of love. And I had to do a lot of releasing work around him because he is so loving that I created the story when he was younger. I was worried about him because I'm like, you cannot be this loving and live in this world. But I've released that. I've surrendered that to God. And I trust that if God has made him so loving and so giving and so generous, that God will also always protect him. And I think because he was so loving and caring, I think I was scared that because my parents were very caring, but my mom was also savage. So I think I had made up stories around that. But when he started studying scripture, I was like, I knew it. He is going to be a big spiritual teacher. I just know it. I just know it. And I'm not controlling it, manipulating it. I'm letting him be and study what he wants to study. Oh my God. His birthday is the day before mine, and I was born on Mother's Day. Happy birthday to him and me. Happy birthday, Shannon. You were born on Mother's Day, huh? Yes. Yes. I hear the call over 60 here. Yes. Get out there, ladies. Like, what are you waiting for? I like to joke that when the world is on fire, the Avengers are assembling. Yeah. P.S. We're the Avengers. So, like, stop overthinking it. Otherwise, it's the shallow level regurgitated, parroted information that gets passed along. You have actual lived embodied experience. Trust yourself and go out there. It makes much more sense to be an influencer at 55 than 25. Yes. And again, realizing that there's different categories, right? I'm not an influencer. I'm a spiritual teacher. There's content creators, there's influencers there. I'm not even a business owner. Do I have a business? Yes, but I don't think of myself as I have a business. I think of myself that this is my ministry work and I do the things I need to do. And then there is a business there, but I'm not like I did this, so therefore I need to have this result in my business. I'm not designed to think that way. I'm not designed to function that way. I don't even run like the day to day. My business is so interesting. I heard Eckhart Tolle saying that such a long time ago, probably about a decade ago. And I was like, this is before I even had a business. I heard him say that he didn't know anything about his business. He didn't know that he was making money or not making money or how much that it was separate from his work. And I can't believe that just came out of my mouth too now, a decade later, but it is like that. It's like that thing is happening and my family is running it and I'm just doing my ministry work and I'm not nickeling and diming God and I'm not trying to make it make sense and I'm not trying to create some kind of arbitrary formula that if I do this, then that. This is really inspiring me to gather all my mom's experiences, wisdom, and film it for when I need it. I love that. I love that, Jacqueline. Yes. Really like putting her legacy into cohesive bodies of work. I love YouTube channels of people who have lived. Yes, you know what I've seen too? A lot of young people realize right now that wisdom is more profitable. So what they've done is they've created AI images of AI avatars of people looking like they're in their 70s and 80s, and those channels and those pages are going viral. But because they're still coding the information, it's not wisdom. It's just they're like acting like it's wisdom. But there's a code in there for us. We were told that when we're useless and we're ugly and we're crazy and we're hormonal because we're in our 40s or 50s or 60s and blah, blah, blah. But look at what's actually at play. People are impersonating older people trying to act like they have wisdom now. But remember that in our hunter-gatherer days, in our caveman days, there were always two fires. The elders' fire for the men and the elders' fire for the women. And before there was TV and internet and radio and broadcasting and social media, there was actual lived embodied wisdom shared through folklore and storytelling and experiences passed down tribe to tribe, generation to generation. That hasn't changed. It's still coded in us. Just purchased Divinely Paid and Money Money Come to Me. Looking forward to absorbing both courses, Mina. Amazing. Femme filmmaker. Money Money Come to Me was my first course that I created with my son Armand. So amazing, amazing, amazing. Yes. And so what I see is that a lot of elders are doubting themselves and they're thinking, oh, like, they're being laid off from their jobs and their jobs have been given to younger people. And I went to the Silicon Valley event, and that was a big theme of that event earlier this year, where it's like a lot of people in their 40s and 50s and 60s being discriminated against in the workforce and being laid off and not being hired. And I was like, what if this is a blessing in disguise? What if this is God telling us that we're not meant to be someone else's employee anymore? What if this, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you desire, but in those situations where they were literally locked out of employment, I'm like, what if God is calling you to something higher? What if your wisdom and your expertise and your consulting, like everything that you have learned and earned through years and decades of life experience and wisdom and intelligence, what if it's meant to be transmitted in a different way? What if you're meant to earn your living through a different way now? Yes, Armand still does readings. You have to email support at theuniverseguru.com to get his link. I can give you the bit.ly link I was giving, but he said he prefers it when people email him just for scheduling. He's in a different time zone, a very different time zone. So if you can email my team at support at theuniverseguru.com, they'll give you his email. Yeah, he still does readings. That I believe was my family's fear I think too that used to say I was too sensitive. Yeah. Yeah. He's not too sensitive, but he's just very loving, like almost unhumanly loving, like just very pure love. So when he was little, and we went to this Louisiana thing, and we were like on the boat in this bayou thing, and there were alligators, and one was like kind of close to us, and I think I was scared, and he was like, "Don't worry, Mom, alligators are friendly." Like to him, and I remember when he was little, he used to watch this cartoon, and Irfan was like saying something about that cartoon to me, and he didn't like it. Like he doesn't like people talking bad about each other. He doesn't like any negativity. He doesn't like any backbiting. Like his thing is that if he's discussing someone, that person has to be in the room. He is just like unnaturally loving. Like we were concerned. Like his teachers were concerned about his loving nature. Like that type of loving. Yeah, that's my middle son, the projector. That clicks for me when I'm following the fun way more money flows in. For years, you've been that example of business gets to be fun for me. Yes, yes. And because I've not, it's like Irfan always says, play from a position of strength, right? Like I do this because I want to. And there's been areas, times in my life where I forgot that. And Irfan will call me out on it. People don't understand that when you're married to a masculine energy man, it also comes in with like a lot they call you out. Like so when I was if I ever get into a mode where it's not looking fun or I'm not having fun, he'll like semi emotionally blackmail me. He'll say things like, I thought this was supposed to be fun. I thought you said you wanted to do this. Irfan's thing is he says that men whose wives are stressed are losers. Sorry, my husband says that. Sorry if that offends anyone. And he says, I'm not going to have a stressed wife. So either you're doing this for fun or you're not doing it. So that always brings me back to, right, this is supposed to be fun. I get to do this. Yeah. Something just clicked. Hypnosis is about having information go through the different levels of the mind until we reach original thoughts. Studying is next level. Yes. Yes. I think people have forgotten to have original thoughts because I want to keep, I think I love the way God has positioned me. Like, you can't make this ish up. Like, looking back at my life, like, God always had a plan because even the things He made me study or He led me to study, it makes so much sense because I know spiritual teachers that I listen to and I love and adore, but then sometimes they're very disconnected from the human experience. And then I know people that are like amazing, like psychologists and like understand like human, but then it's like they didn't study the spiritual level. And God put me in like a very unique perspective where I spent 45 years of my life studying both, right? And not at the same time, like studying one super deeply, studying the other super deeply, then going back and studying that some more, and then going back and studying that some more, and then unifying it into my body of work. And that gives me, I think, a different perspective because I understand we're spiritual beings, but I also know that the human realm is too powerful to spiritually bypass. It won't let you. It won't let you. And so the work that we need to get to the spiritual realm, you can't jump through it. You have to do the human work first to actually truly be spiritual, not posturing spirituality, not pretending to be spiritual, but actually connecting with God. So grateful for you and your work you do for you and your family and your message to the world. Thank you, Jacqueline. I appreciate that. I think that's similar to what we see in Michael Jackson, historically super, super loving nature. Oh, that's so interesting. I want to see his movie. I haven't seen his movie yet. I grew up listening to his music, obviously, because my dad listened to his music. But I want to know more about him. I'm interested. What got me? like I wasn't interested in the movie that much. And then my son was like, Ayan was like, Mom, that's his nephew playing him. And I was like, what? I gotta go watch that. I'm so obsessed with Legacy. I love it when, like, how many of you guys know Bollywood? You guys remember Ravina Tandon? Well, Ravina Tandon's daughter recently danced to one of her most famous songs. I bawled my eyes out watching her daughter dance to her song. Like I loved Raveena Tandon growing up, the actress, and that was one of my favorite songs. And she was wearing a yellow sari, just like oh my, I was just I bawled my eyes out. I am so coded for Legacy. Like as I'm like, that's his nephew. I gotta watch that. Like to me, I probably will spend the whole film, movie crying, knowing that it's his nephew doing his movie. Legacy to me is everything. Oh my gosh, everything. It is everything. Our work, our legacy, our stories, our life, our lessons, our body of work, it's going to outlive us. So why not live your life as the story that your ancestors will tell? That has been such a deep, like, message of my life through losing my parents and them always still being with me and me always consulting them in my mind and always saying, well, what would my dad say? And what would Sheena say? And like, what would they do? And what would they say in this situation? And following that guidance, it's made me realize that one day I too will be gone, but my stories and the way that I carried myself and the way I lived and the way I thought things and the way I moved through things and the way I handled the ups and downs of life and duality and love and my relationship to my husband and the relationship with my work and my relationship with God and the relationship with my body, like all of that will outlive me. It will become the stories that my descendants tell around their campfire. And so why don't I live it as that story now? So that it's not unintentional, it's intentional. And so when I am going through something hard, I pause and I say, how do I choose to live this? Like, if this is going to be the story told for generations to come, what's the story I would like to be told? And then I intentionally do my best, not manipulating it, not posturing, not performative, but like I live it with the highest truth I can so that the story is closest to how I would want it to be told. I want the story to be told as, yes, she went through this, but it didn't break her. She just came back to God. She just trusted herself more. Yes, she cried, but she also had gratitude and she also had appreciation and she also prayed and she also surrendered and she also let it be easy. That's how I want the story to be told. Seen three times. The nephew is wonderful. I love legacy and strong family presentation. Me too. And that doesn't mean it needs to be perfect. Like I know in Pakistani culture, sometimes that can be received as hiding things or lying or forcing people to be a certain way. That's not what I mean at all. When I say the highest frequency of truth, like what it actually is and how we're perceiving it and then loving it, letting it play out, putting good intention. What was I sharing in the energetics container? I just did a transmission a few days ago. Having positive expectations around it, letting it be real, letting it play out, but having positive expectations. I expect everything to work out for me. I expect everything to work out for my children. I expect everything to work out for my family. I expect everything to work out for my business. I expect everything to work out for my clients. So I let it be what it is. I have a higher perspective. I choose better choosing thoughts and better choosing like better, like more useful beliefs, but I expect the best. I expect the best. Live your life as the story your ancestors will tell. Amazing. Yes. And with that, ladies, I'm going to wrap up today's transmission. Thank you so much. I knew I wouldn't be able to come on live tomorrow for Mother's Day and Ayan's birthday. So I wanted to come here and just wish you a happy Mother's Day in any timeline, whether you're watching this years from now. Happy Mother's Day. Choosing pleasure and joy as an act of rebellion in a world that tells us that we have to deplete ourselves and self-sacrifice. That's not the story of motherhood I want my ancestors telling, or my descendants telling, or my friends telling, or you telling. So we get to live it differently. We get to live it our way. We get to live it surrendered to God. We get to be blessed. We get to bless others. We get to be the glitch in the matrix. I love you so much. And don't forget, code MOM18 off gets you 18% off out of all my courses and bundles. The only two exceptions are the certification in Kainat. On alumni, it still works. If you're being called towards something, that's the code for you. I love you so much. Thank you. Bye.